Hi, I'm Mark Sawyer, and this is the Sunday, August 9th meeting of the Natural Rights Sangha. I've been on the road the last few weeks, and I recorded the August 2nd meeting from the home of my friend Dave, who's on our board of directors, and he lives in the forest in Northern California, and I hope it was obvious what a beautiful spot that was last week when I was holding the meeting. Now, we always start with a meditation, so we won't change that today. And I'd like you just to, when we start the meditation, just to snap pause here, and then to time a meditation for 8 or 10 or 12 minutes, however long you like, and to just sit up straight and close your eyes. Put your fingers together however you wish. There's various meanings to how they're configured, this way or this way or this way or whatever feels right for you. And just to monitor your breathing, just to breathe in, monitor inhale and exhale. And if thoughts come, let them go. Just be in the moment, breathing, just noticing nothing except your breath. And don't blame yourself if thoughts come, but just let them go. So let's start to meditate, and please hit pause and set a little timer. And or however you do your meditations, and when it's over, please push play again. One person suggested that we meditate together for a certain amount of time, and that I play nice music with ocean waves or birds flying and making singing sounds or whatever. But if you wish that type of music while you meditate, you can play that yourself. And I don't want to push that on everybody. It's whatever you wish. Now, I do have the beautiful Buddhist temple scene behind me from Thailand, and I have a picture of Ramana Maharshi from Robert Wolf's book, Ramana Maharshi Teachings of Self-Realization, behind me on the windowsill. But I hope you have a nice place in which to be for this meeting also. I'd like to mention the precepts. We haven't talked about them for a few weeks. Of course, you're welcome to read them on the website and to have a copy of them with you at all times, and to look at the various YouTube clips we have up about them on our Natural Rights Sangha YouTube channel, which of course is where you're viewing this. But to refrain from harming any living thing, to endeavor not to harm any living thing. Okay. To take nothing which is not freely offered. To speak and listen mindfully. And listening is always a bugger for me, because I sometimes think, oh, I know what they're going to say. And I answer early as if I'd already heard what they were going to ask or say or state. And sometimes I'm wrong. And then I'm missing their point. I'm hurting their feelings possibly. I might be missing some important information. I might make some mistakes based on bad assumptions. And again, assumptions is the next one. Avoid assumptions and expectations. And so listen carefully and listen fully. and speak without gossiping, without slandering, without misstating. Mistakes happen, but deliberate mistakes are a different thing. Yeah. Now, of course, the fourth one we already mentioned, avoid assumptions and expectations. And I heartily recommend the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which I think it's a wonderful book and I heartily recommend it. The next precept is to maintain a healthy body, okay, and to engage in proper sexual activities. No need to go much into that. That was almost too fully explained, I was told, in the introduction to the precepts tape. So I won't go into those again. But when it comes to a healthy body, just eating healthy food and exercising some without going into undue pain. Hopefully, you're not supposed to hurt yourself. You're supposed to help yourself. Yeah, and the next one is never consume, inject, allow, or take, or apply, anything into or onto your body which could cause physical, social, or civil harm. And of course, not to get high or drunk to the extent that you can't control yourself and your activities and you become vulnerable to bad things happening. Now, there's a lot going on right now in Western society regarding vaccines and injections, and people are very scared about. Allegedly, there are people out there who want everyone to have to take the vaccine, and the question is, are these vaccines safe? What's in the vaccine? Well, it's interesting how last time I was offered a vaccine, I asked, what's in it? And the nurse looked at me funny and says, I don't know. I said, well, I'd like to know the ingredients before I take this. I understand that some vaccines include formaldehyde, aluminum, mercury, genetic-based products I might not want in my body. I just like to make sure what's in it before I agree to take it. And it was like she'd never been asked this before. And then she clenched it when she said, oh, by the way, of course, after this injection, you're going to be wiped out for the next 2 or 3 days. It was a shingles injection, okay, to prevent shingles. And I went, a vaccine. And I went, oh, I can't afford to be wiped out for the next 2 or 3 days, thank you. So I can't do it anyway right now. But let's check this out, all right? Well, there is a lot of stuff in society right now where good people in the health industry have been convinced by PR campaigns from big pharma that, oh, these vaccines are fine. Anyone who says they're not is a conspiracy theorist and wrong and terrible, and don't listen to them because here are the studies that show everything's perfect. You see, it says so right here, Well, those are all paid for by big pharma. And you get some very reputable people with studies that aren't paid for by big pharma that say, watch out. And then you get the statistics on, you just look at autism and the increase in autism in the population of the United States or the Western world in relation to vaccines and when they were given at a certain stage in life and what vaccines were given and when. And you go, uh-oh, what was in those vaccines? And then you look and they tell you, oh, it's safe, but it's mercury. Neutral studies show mercury is very destructive and harmful, especially to an infant's brain. Do your research here, please. Don't believe me. Don't believe anything anyone tells you without checking it out on your own. Really. I mean, I heartily believe that has to be the case. Jesus said this, Buddha said this, Muhammad even said this, Ramana Maharshi said this. You know, every reputable person says, check out what I say for yourself. Make sure it's true for you. And okay, well, enough about those for now. We have had questions about that, so I wanted to mention it some more. Now, to assist the weak, to assist the old and the infirm, and to do so with good humor whenever possible. Okay. Sometimes, when there's an angry situation, you can diffuse it with humor. You don't have to jump in like Captain America and hit him with the shield and toss him over the ledge or something. Not necessary. Sometimes you can just say, you can laugh and you can just step in and you can say, well, that's really going weird, isn't it? Or whatever. And you can diffuse a situation. But one of our precepts is very strongly, and it's in the Sikh tradition, S-I-K-H, the people with the turbans from Rajasthan, that they protect those who need protection, and I love that. And those of us in the National Light Sangha all do our best to uphold that precept as best we can. Now, respect all traditions and people. I don't know of any tradition which at its heart asks people to be bad people, killers, terrorists, rapists, murderers. All of them at heart did not mean for this to happen with their followers. And yet all around the world, we have right wing of every type who are murdering people and raping people. We have right-wing Buddhists doing horrible things in Myanmar. We have right-wing Jews in Israel who are doing very bad things with the Palestinians. Okay. We have, and I've been there, I've seen it, okay. I've also been to other parts of Asia a lot, and I've met many people who have escaped from places like Burma and from China, where the minorities are being treated terribly there, although at least that's not on a religious basis from the government. Well, kind of is, because the Muslims are being mistreated. So, right-wing Christians, last count, Department of Homeland Security said that over 300 and possibly over 500 people have been killed by right-wing extremist groups, Christians, in America in the last few years. Okay, which is, by the way, more people have been killed by right-wing Christians in America since 9/11 than have ever been killed by Muslims. Take 9/11 away, and the Muslims have killed almost nobody in America in comparison to what the Christians are doing. So Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, everybody, everybody is taking their faith and using it to attack those of other faiths. We don't do that. We respect them all. A long time ago, a teacher told me that all of the religions take a piece of the spiritual pie, and they each say that, hey, their piece of the spiritual pie is the best. Well, the spiritual pie is the spiritual pie, and at their best, they're all good. And that's what we look at, and that's what we honor, and that's what we go with. If individuals tend to be different, that's them. It's not their faith. And it happens with every faith. People take wrong turns. So we understand that and we respect that, but we also protect people from harm from people doing bad things if necessary. Now, the last of the precepts is to exercise generosity and compassion towards all living things, including yourself and towards other people. That's inherent to what we've just been talking about. And and again, the fact that we of the Natural Right Sangha live by these precepts is really cool. Okay. Now, this brings up the thing I was going to focus on today is some people have criticized because it seems like these precepts are practices. They're things to do, and there is no doer and no doership. So what am I talking about here? Oh, bad. Well, as I've said before, if you reach the point of being Ramana Maharshi or Adi Shankara, and by the way, in my last a few weeks ago, I was talking about Shankara, I meant Adi Shankara Acharya, okay? And I was talking about Sri Ramana Maharshi, Adi Shankara, Gaudapada, and these people, and I talked about the writer, the Bhagavad Gita and the Ashtavakra Gita. If you ever have questions about this, like our Spanish friend Maria did, about is that Adi Shankara Acharya you're talking about? Let me know, and I'll make sure that's clear. Well, when you read these people, when you read Shankara, he specifically goes into practices that need to be followed by people in the beginning stages of the spiritual path. 99.9% people need to follow some practices in the beginning. They need to, quote, do something. Now, Nisargadatta Maharaj later became famous for saying, well, there's no doership, you don't have to do things. Well, guess what? He went around for 3 years saying, I am Brahman, all is Brahman, in his own language. What's a practice? I mean, he practiced something for 3 years in order to get to where he got. My teacher, Ramesh Balsekar, he became a guy that didn't advocate many practices and was criticized for the one that he did finally advocate, which was a very simple thing. He practiced for 30 years with another teacher before he met Nisargadatta Maharaj. He did all of the traditional Hindu things with this guru. So after 30 years, he was ready to do some other things. If you see me petting here, I'm petting Kiki, the wonder dog, who came out because I seemed excited and she came out to see how I was doing. What's up, Mark? You're excited. Yeah. But so people say, oh, but so-and-so says you don't need to practice. There's no doership. Yeah. Once you get to the place that Ramana Maharshi or Shankara are at, or Buddha or Jesus, there's no need to practice anymore because you're beyond a place where you need to do that to affirm your not place in the world, so to speak. It's hard to use language. Okay. And of course, we talk about Shravana, Manana, and Vidyasana about listening and reading the holy words, meditating upon them, and then coming to live by them. Okay? That's all Ramesh ever did, is tell you these things, ask you to consider them, to take them in until they became part of you. And then, as he said, with grace, they would take over and you would be in a new perspective regarding everything. And that's a practice. One man named Ananda Wood was able to find 10 practices that Ramana Maharshi at various times told people to do. His most famous one, of course, is to ask yourself, who am I? And to find the answer. That's a practice. So these no practice people, they're delusional. They're wrong. Um, and that's just the way it is. We need meditations. We need mantras. We need kirtans. We need to read these books, to meditate upon them, to consider them, to think deeply about them, maybe to go on a retreat, maybe to do a pilgrimage. Yes, eventually you get to the point where maybe you don't need these things anymore. And even then, sometimes you still choose to do them. Why? That's a good question. Let's leave that question for now. Thank you for the questions you've sent. Thank you. Remember, Mark at naturalrightsangha.org is the place to contact. And I'm happy to get your questions and to review things with you. I don't prefer to go into individual teachers' names saying this person's full of baloney or anything like that. Um, you can criticize all you want with your questions, but I'll leave it out of here. But just remember this, if any teacher ever says, I'll give you the truth if you give me the money. Hey, little girl, I'll give you the truth if you come by. No, hey, that guy has lots of money and so does she, so I'll be nice to them, but the heck with you poor folk. No. But we know that. Okay. Well, hey, in these interesting times with the COVID virus and with the world doing what it's doing and the political turmoil all over, I hope you are finding peace and are doing well yourself. So let's end today, as usual, with the four agreements. So please repeat them after me. We'll do them twice. The first time, let's do them for ourselves, and then we'll do them for others afterwards. Okay? May I have happiness and the causes of happiness. May I be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May I never be separate from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May I reside in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. So now think of we. It can be you and everybody. It can be you and your friends and your loved ones. You can include people you're not your favorite people and try to get them on a better path or in a better space regarding you anyway. So let's do that now. Okay, so may we, yeah. May we have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May we never be separate from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May we reside in equanimity, free of attachment and aversion. Well, thank you for being here. Enjoy the week. Endeavor to keep the precepts. And I hope to see you next week here. Bye-bye.